Andres.
Hey, Christine.
Hi, how are you? Thank you for coming on my LinkedIn Live.
Of course. Thanks so much for having me. I am looking forward to it.
Yeah, so estate planning is such an interesting topic, and then there's always so much to learn. I already had two lawyers come in, and the next week I had another estate planning attorney come in. So we're going to talk about the difference between doing it with your company and with lawyers and a lot more other stuff. So before we get started, why don't you introduce yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. So, name is Andres Mazabel. I live here in San Diego. Was born and raised in Colombia. So we moved here when I was 12, and still have some family back in Colombia. But my parents live here in San Diego, and I'm a former banker. So I spent roughly about 13 years in private banking. And I've been with Trust and Will now for about 6 or 7 months, which has flown by. And that's kind of it. Have 2 dogs, and I love the outdoors. So I'm thrilled to be here.
Yep, I have 2 dogs too. So okay.
Absolutely.
So yeah. So tell us more about like how is your company different than hiring lawyers, private lawyers?
Yeah. So I think before that, I think it really comes down to like who is Trust and Will and what are we trying to solve, right? I think anytime a company starts, there's a problem that you're trying to solve, right? So estate planning, about 60% of Americans don't have an estate plan whatsoever.
Yeah,
So,
I don't have one either. So
yeah, we've talked about that, right? So it's one of those things that automatically people think it's very expensive. It's a complicated process and inconvenient.
Mhm.
So estate planning attorneys do a great job of helping people with an estate plan, but the way the structure is really set up, it steers a lot of people away to not complete it or keep putting it off and off. So what we've essentially done, Christine, we started 3 years ago here in San Diego, and really think of it as TurboTax, but for estate planning. So we're live nationwide in all 50 states. So what does that mean? It's state-specific plans in every state. And that essentially allows people to have access to estate planning that typically wouldn't have access to it. So it's a platform where you go online, but we have live customer support to kind of help walk you through the process. Because not everyone understands what estate planning is and what the process is like. So that's where, great, if you're not sure, you can chat in, you can schedule a phone call and kind of go through the process of setting up the estate plan.
Got it. So you're saying it, okay, so the location is in San Diego, but then you just serve nationwide here in United States.
Yep.
Okay,
So
cool.
we're headquartered here in San Diego. We have 20 employees now at the company, and we keep growing. But essentially, yes, it's an online platform that's available in all 50 states.
Okay, so like how many lawyers do you guys have on? Are they on staff or are they contracted to just help out when people need to talk to a lawyer?
Yeah, it's a good question. So we have attorneys on staff. So all of our documents were drafted, created, and are always being updated by state attorneys that are Trust and Will employees. And then what we also have is the attorney consultation. So if someone wants to go through the process of setting up an estate plan, but they want legal advice and want an attorney to kind of walk them through the process, those are attorneys that we contract out and work with us to help our clients kind of go through the process of our platform, but also have the best of both worlds, right? Not spend $3,000 to $5,000 on an estate plan because their situation's pretty simple, but still have access to an attorney that can kind of help them walk them through the process as well.
Got it. Okay, so first of all, tell me like all this. What are the services you provide, and then usually like how long does that typically take if someone wants to sign up? So I think you have the trust, you have the will. What else?
Yeah, that's a great question. So in all 50 states, we offer 3 products. So one is the trust. So it's a revocable living trust. To give you an example, it's $499 for a married couple. The will, it's $159 for a married couple. And then our mission of the company of Trust and Will is to make estate planning accessible to everyone. So we also offer a guardianship. If you're a brand new parent, but you're not ready to invest in your will or a trust, then we offer just a simple guardianship. And that essentially, hey, if something happens to you unexpectedly, you have a legal guardian that you've outlined to take over, to help raise your kid and look over your kid instead of a court deciding that. And the process, it's, give you an example, the will, usually it's 15 to 20 minutes to go through the process.
Okay.
The trust can take anywhere from 25 to 35 minutes. And the way we've set up the platform is you can get started. We don't charge up front. We want to make sure people are comfortable with starting to set up their estate plan. And then as they complete it, they can actually review it. And then at the very end, they pay for the estate plan. We'll ship it out to them. And then many people that go through an attorney, which is not always, it's a good option, but they struggle to keep their estate plan up to date. So what we've done with Trust and Will is great. You created your first trust or you created your first will. What you can actually do within our platform is make updates. So give you an example, after your first year, you can opt into a subscription. It's $12 a year. And that's going to allow you to log in online. Your information is saved, so you don't have to enter everything over. And that allows you to update your estate plan as you have kids, you buy a home, you move, whatever the case may be. So we make it easy.
Got it. Yep, easy is always good. Okay. So why do you think so why does families need an estate plan? Like, okay, maybe we should start with that. Like, when should someone start thinking about having an estate plan? Like, how young or how old they are, should they start thinking about, hey, I do need to have a trust or an estate plan?
That's such a good question. And I think there's a really big misconception on estate planning that you should set up a will when you're close to dying. You should set up a trust when
you don't know when you're gonna die. You could die.
Hey, but in a way, when you talk about your own estate plan, you keep putting it off in a way that you think you're gonna live until you're 85. Like, you know exactly when you're gonna die. Literally, it's how it works. And that you should set up a trust when you're worth like $5 million. So that's kind of the misconception of estate planning for the average American, right? So something as simple, typically, when you have a kid, when you get married, those are like your main triggering events that you're like, man, I am not just looking after myself, but now I am married. I have this child. So those are typically a lot of the main triggers that people take action to really help protect a lot of that, right? So why it's important, I talked a little bit about this, but having the guardianship for your kid. All of our estate plans, both the trust and the will, include all the healthcare documents and power of attorney. So if this year has taught us anything, is anything can happen at any time. So be prepared, right? So it includes the HIP authorization, your living will, which is the healthcare directive that kind of helps outline your medical decisions ahead of time. So these are all documents that everyone should have. For example, the will, if you're not a homeowner yet, if you're not married, it's still a document that's extremely important. And at the price point of $89, there's so much value behind it that's kind of the starting point to say, great, this is when I should really start thinking about creating or starting with my estate plan.
So do you need both? Okay, so I guess the question, what age should they start thinking about having an estate plan? When they start working, what?
It's a good question. I don't know if it's really an age trigger, Christine, right? Because to give you an example, like I know some friends that are 25 and they just got engaged or are getting married, right? So I think it really kind of reflects what's going on in your life, right? In terms of what stage you are. But give you an example, like we've had clients that have paid for their kids that are going off to college for the will. For $90, they have the HIP authorization. So if God forbid their kid gets in a car accident, this form allows the parents to call the hospital to get information. So very, very important things that you need to have in place. So it depends. It's not an age, I don't think. It really depends on your stage in life. One of the main questions we have is, when should you start looking towards a trust, right? Like when should from a will go towards a trust? Okay. And there's really no magic, like one answer for everyone. It really depends. But a lot of the times it's if you want to avoid probate, right? So if you, for example, in California, if you own a home, you should most definitely have a trust. Probate specifically in California It's extremely complicated. It can cost you a lot of money. Like, to give you an example, if you have an estate, I was looking at this before a call.
Mhm.
If you pass and you have an estate of about 300,000, so not talking millions of dollars, that's
Yep.
going to cost you about $9,000 to go through probate through California. And it's not just the money. When I was a banker, I saw firsthand people going through probate. Like, I would set up an estate account and it could take close to a year for someone to go through. So it makes things so much easier. It's like, honestly, it's one of the best gifts you can leave behind, to have a plan in place for your loved ones.
Yeah. So when you say 300,000, so that's all their assets, right? Their house, their savings, checking, IRA, retirement. So so $300,000 alone, which is, I mean, if they're from the Bay Area, that's not a lot. And then the $9,000 for that's a lot of money just to get out probate. And for how long does that take, the probate?
That's what I was going to say. I mean, it can take, I've seen probate minimum in California around 6 months, but it can be longer than that. So the money is tied in an account that you can't distribute, you can't pay bills. So you lose control over that, and you hand it over to a court. And if you're anywhere in a state like California, like I'd be talking about, it's not as organized and as quick of a process as it should be.
Yeah. And then just to let everyone know, we can't plan our debt. So last year, I know two people personally that just passed away. Is one of them my friend's dad, who was actually a realtor. He passed away on a vacation unexpectedly at probably early 50s, and then another one was another friend. He was probably early 50s too. So you can't plan your debt, and you know what? They both don't have a will or trust. So my friend ended up, they had to go probate to just get his IRA, and then they told me it took them a while to get that money. And the other one, so he has a house. Now they have to go to probate, but it's gonna go towards his parents because he doesn't have kids. So of course, So everyone, you cannot. You're not as invincible as you think. That's what we would like to think. We're not X-Men or whatever. So, okay.
Heroes that will never pass. Yeah.
Yeah, actually, the previous lawyer who was on my show, he was like, sometimes celebrities, they don't even have will or trust because they think they're invincible.
Really? That's just the way like we're wired, right? It's like when you hear someone else, but when you're like, for me, it's like, I'm so healthy. I run all the time. You never know. Like, there's so many things outside of your control that you never really know what's going to happen. So, outside of the emotional side, and I'm sorry to hear about those experiences, there's that process it's just not fun to go through. It leaves a mess. It really, really does.
Yeah, exactly. That's it's not fun to go to probate, and then it's costly too. Okay, so you said, so how does trust and will has helped over 100,000? Wow, that's over 3 years. You have helped 100,000 families. So as of today, how many clients have you guys helped?
So this 100,000 was when you and I first booked this meeting, which was, I think, 45 days ago. We're now up to over 120,000 families that we've helped. So it's super exciting, and it's really just validating the fact that the average American knows the importance of it, but didn't want to go through an attorney because of how expensive the process is, right? And something, I'm so glad we're doing this, Christine, because literally this morning we just announced this, and I hope this helps spread the word. With COVID-19 and everything going on, teachers and going back to school, there's a lot of stress for a teacher, right? Of going through that process. So we started today, literally, we just launched the promo code. We're offering complimentary estate plans, the will-based plan for teachers. So middle school, high school, college, anyone that's a teacher, we've set up an actual landing page, and I can share that so that they can actually go on it and just feel, it's a little piece of mind that we're helping kind of provide. It's a stressful time. It's been a crazy year for everyone. We did this earlier this year, Christine, for healthcare workers. We thought we would have a couple thousand. We offered over 10,000 will-based plans for healthcare workers. So it shows you people are worried, and I hope this helps spread the word, because there's a lot of teachers that are kind of not very comfortable with the fact of going back to school.
Yeah. So who started Trust and Will? Was it a couple of lawyers who decided, hey, let's offer this? Or was it non-lawyers who decided, who got tired of all the expensive lawyers charging people? So how did this get started?
It's a great question. And it's funny because when a new employee comes on board, they show you the actual screenshot of a text message of the idea. So there's 3 co-founders. So Cody Barbo, Daniel Goldstein, and Brian. And they're all in their mid-30s. In the last 6 months, they've all had their first kid. So as they started looking at, great, well, we're about to get married, go in that stage in life. A couple of them were really big into cryptocurrency back in the day. And they said, hey, what if we pass? Like, we should look at an estate plan. And they started looking online, and they just weren't ready for a $3,000 or $5,000 estate plan because their situation is like so many people. They're married, they're having their first kid. So literally that's how the idea came up. And the text message is so funny, the screenshot that shows the idea that says, hey, there really isn't a TurboTax-like solution for estate planning that someone can go on, create an estate plan. Yeah. And it's simple, it's easy, and most importantly, it's affordable. And in 3 years, we're up to 20 employees now here in San Diego, and we keep growing the company, which is super exciting. So I'm super grateful to be part of the process and kind of what we call this rocket ship.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's good. So, okay, so you said for a couple is $499 for a trust. What about for a single person?
It's a $399 for one person.
Okay, so let's say I did do the trust there. I put whatever, all the house and all my accounts under the trust. So what if there's any major life change? So does it come with changes, the $399, or you said the subscription will pay for that?
Yeah, it's a good question. So within the first year, when you first pay, you can do any updates. It's unlimited. And then the 11th month, we'll reach out to our members and say, hey, the unlimited subscriptions or unlimited updates is about to expire. And then that's when a client has the option to opt into it's $12 a year. So very, very affordable. And that's what would allow them to log in anytime and then make any update or amendment to their estate plan.
Yeah. How much was that to extend?
$12.
$12 for 1 year. So anytime. So what if they lapse on that one? They're like, okay, maybe there's not much update, and then 3 months later, can they just pay for the $12 to make updates, or it has to be continuous?
So ideally, it's continuous, and then we also have the option. This is a more common one for trust people that purchase a trust. It's $99, but it's lifetime. So that way you don't have to worry about so we kind of give people the option. It really depends on what's best for them.
So does it come with a consultation with a lawyer, the $399 and the $12?
So it comes with live customer support.
Okay.
But it's not. So that's the biggest thing, right? So one of your main questions at the beginning, which is a good one, what's the main difference between us and going through an attorney, right? So through our platform at $499, it's not an attorney that they're talking to. So we don't give legal advice. In California, and we're going live in 3 other states in the next 30 days, someone can pay extra, so an additional $200.
Okay.
But now they're actually talking to an attorney licensed in that state. And what's really cool is they get assigned an attorney for a full 12 months. So if they have follow-up questions on funding a trust, changes or anything like that, they have that attorney. So it makes it really, really valuable.
That's really good. So $399 plus $200, so that's $599. So you get to get your trust done, and then for a year you can talk to the lawyer too for up to a year in case some things has changed. So that sounds like a really good deal. So
yeah, behind it, we've gotten there's the family that it's super straightforward, right? Give you an example, right? In the Bay Area, so married couple. They're making $250,000 in the Bay Area because that's kind of minimum to live up there, right? And then they just bought their first home, but that's it in terms of like their situation. So they go on it, they go create the estate plan, but then you have people that have a little bit more complicated situations, and that's where we're providing the option to say, hey, if you're interested in having an attorney review your situation to make sure everything is being set up correctly to give you legal advice on the best way to structure your estate, then that's when we have that option as well.
Right. So you say it takes about 30 minutes. So let's say I'm gonna, okay, so if I have a trust, do I need a will with that trust as well, or the will is already included in the trust?
It's either or. So you're going to either create the will-based plan or the trust-based plan.
Okay, so the trust, so you said it takes about 30 minutes. So what kind of question that is normally asked? Like, is it like a template and it just asks you this question and then create the contract for you, and then, hey, this is it, and then afterwards, then you just have to go to your bank or whatever and change it to the trust? Like, what kind of question does it normally ask you? Like,
that's a good question. So literally think of it as, for people that are on, think of it as TurboTax. So first step is great. Let's figure out, are you a homeowner? Do you have kids? So just like getting to know you, right? Okay. And then there's 4 sections. So we've set it up in a way that it's very user-friendly. Mm-hmm. So, ask information about your name, date of birth, just your personal information. Mm-hmm. Then if you have kids, that's when you enter their information. Yeah. And then that's where it starts getting into, great, well, what are your wishes for your estate plan, right? Who would you want to look over your kids? If you're setting up a trust, if you're married and your wife have or both pass, who's going to be the successor trustee? So these are all questions that we're asking in the flow, and then we help define exactly to make sure that people are answering everything correctly. Mm-hmm. And then that's where I keep mentioning this, but it's super important. That's where we have the live customer support. So 6 days a week, you go on the website, you start creating the estate plan, and you're stuck anywhere, you can chat in or actually schedule a phone call. And then other questions then, one of your biggest one, Christine, is your assets, right? So life insurance, if you own a home, your bank accounts, investment accounts. So that's all that you're putting in the estate plan, right? And then once you actually go through the platform, we will ship out the documents to the client, and they get the physical copy. They can also download the PDF copy right off the bat. And then, next steps are notarizing the document, and 2 are funding the trust, if they got a trust, for example. So we provide a trust funding guide, and that's what you were kind of talking about, right? So putting your house, the deed of the house under the trust, your bank accounts, working with your advisor. That's where an advisor can really help provide a lot of value to make sure kind of all those steps are completed.
Got it. Okay, so you're gonna have to go to your savings bank account and then change that to the trust, pretty much. Like everything's gonna be under the trust name.
It depends. There's some bank accounts that people actually like to leave in their own names, or they can add the trust as a beneficiary. So it really depends.
Got it. Okay. And then, like, for example, like I have 2 dogs, so you can put that in the trust who will take care of my 2 dogs. And then...
Actually, I'm so glad you bring that up. We have the pet guardian, literally, included in both the will and the trust, because I'm a dog owner too. Like I don't have kids, so they're my kids, literally. So those are all super important documents to have, for sure.
Cool. All right. I'm glad you guys are taking care of pet parents. Okay. Yeah. So someone has a question. Tanya is asking, if someone is asked to be the executor of an estate, are there specific items to discuss with the couple ahead of time?
That is such a good question. So yes, absolutely. And we've actually implemented that within our platform. So what does that mean? Is if I assign someone as my executor, we can actually set up that we will send an email to that executor, letting them know that they got assigned to that estate plan.
So before we proceed, what is an executor for people who doesn't know?
Cool, good question. So an executor is the person that's going to manage your estate. So if I pass, I would want, for example, my brother to say, hey, these are all my assets. This is how I want it distributed. And he's going to be that person in charge.
So what if the executor pass away? So do you list like 3 executors? Okay, if this pass away, this person. So up to how many? 3 people?
Absolutely. Okay. And we include that in there. And because life happens, it's extremely important for people to have backup executors, backup trustees. So to have all that in place. Absolutely. So
Proceed.
Yeah. So to answer this question, yes. So these are very, very important conversations that need to have, right? So to be able to say, hey, I'm thinking of, I'm going to create my estate plan, and I would love to have you as my executor of my estate plan. And to really just have a conversation around what are the wishes, like what would you want to happen, right? And then you're obviously going to put that all in writing within the estate plan. So great question that an executor, that there needs to be good communication when setting up the estate plan between the people that are including the estate plan and setting up the estate plan.
Got it. And then are executors normally paid? Is that in the trust? Hey, you're going to get paid this much amount or whatever?
Mm-mm.
No?
No. Mm-mm.
Okay. So, because I thought there's someone who handles the trust that are paid somehow.
So if you, for example, this is like for larger estates, absolutely. There are companies that's what they do, because it can be a complicated process, right? Especially with probate. So that's where someone can hire an attorney, for example, to go through the full probate process. And yes, they get paid a lot of money to do that.
Okay. So you can hire an attorney as an executor. He's like, hey, okay, you're gonna be the executor. Like, unfortunately, Michael Jackson, right? He didn't do, and then my estate planning class for my enrolled agent, they always use Michael Jackson as an example because it's such a mess because he doesn't have anything. So,
and you would think someone of that stature would have all their ducks aligned, right?
Yeah.
So it's a perfect example of the big problem in estate planning.
Yep, exactly. Okay, good question. Thank you, Tanya. Dr. T. Okay, so yeah, do you have anything else like people need to be aware of when it comes to estate planning?
I would say don't keep putting it off. We've talked a little bit about this.
Yeah.
Also, with our platform, come check it out. We've created a brand that's really approachable, so that the daunting task of creating an estate plan doesn't intimidate people, right? So come check it out. It's a very, very customer-centric company. So if you have any questions, even if you haven't paid, you have access to the live customer support. So it's such an important part of adulting, really, right? And it's one of the things that we just keep putting off. Give you an example. There are about 150 million adults in the US without an estate plan. And millenniums, right? Millenniums, this is a growing population. There's about 3.5 million new adults every single year that are getting married and having kids. And about 80% of them that have kids under the age of 18 don't have an estate plan. So it's extremely important. It's the biggest gift you can leave behind to avoid just a messy situation.
Exactly. Okay, so I think you said you're offering 15% off to the viewers who's watching this who want to do trust or will,
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So 15% off. The code is TE-consulting.
Consulting. Okay, so I'm putting that up.
Yeah, put that on there.
Yeah, TE-consulting, 15% off. Okay,
15% off. You got it.
15% off, and then I will be so I will be tagging you after this. So feel free to just connect with Andres. He's very approachable. You can ask him any questions, and and then I'll tag him, and then you can just connect with him, ask him any more follow-up questions. So Andres, so why don't you tell people how can people find you? Well, besides LinkedIn.
Absolutely, yeah. So LinkedIn. You can always connect with me, send me a message, and then just our website. So it's super simple. My co-founders were very surprised when Trust and Will domain was available. So come check out our website. It's trustandwill.com, spelled out.
Yeah.
Simple, easy, and that's kind of the way we build our brand and customer experience. So we look forward to hopefully helping out some of your viewers with an estate plan. And I appreciate it. I enjoy this, Christine.
Yeah, no, thank you so much for coming on. And then, someone just say, great session. Yeah, great question, Dr. T. All right. So yeah, thanks, Andres. Yeah, you can hang tight, and then thank you so much for joining. I really appreciate this, and this is very informative. There's always something new to learn about estate planning. So there's always options if they want to do like this way, the easy, affordable way, they TurboTax, they can go here, or if they really want to spend more, there's also options. Lots of lawyers, and there's one more lawyer coming to my show next week. So she's actually from California, so you can
Nice.
ask more questions if you want to sign up. Okay, so have a great day, everyone. Bye.
Thanks so much.
Mm-hmm.